welcome back to another edition of the Scarlet and Great podcast. This is your co-host, Johnny Lunsford, and I do apologize for our long hiatus. I was having some technical difficulties with my microphone, but the good folks at, well, I won't say what microphone I'm using because they aren't paying me yet, but as soon as they do, I'll let you know. I'm here with my co-host, Cory Bumpstock Thompson, to give you another good recruiting show. How you doing, Cory?
You're calling me Bumpstock. Am I banned by the president now?
No, it's just because you're a rapid-fire guy that a lot of people would like to outlaw.
Well, it's already been outlawed, so I guess, I understand there's a debate going on in this country about guns right now, but I think it's pretty extreme to outlaw somebody for a nickname that was involuntarily given to them.
Well, no, but people would like to outlaw you, not for your nickname, but for your general attitude about life and everybody else.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Okay. we have a show here about recruiting. You guys love the recruiting news, as shows the numbers, so we will listen to you, our audience. We are going to have a show focused on the recruiting position, or recruiting the quarterback position is how an intelligent human being would tell you. Recruiting the quarterback position, the 2019 race. We also have some other information for you. Cory's worked really hard to build relationships over the years. He has some unofficial, not set in stone, but some very, very interesting inside information about the current Buckeye roster and who's playing out and who's beating out who. It's good stuff. Stay tuned for that just a little later on. We would like to start out, although this is a recruiting podcast about the quarterback position, we'd like to start off with a boom tonight. This is Friday night. We are recording. By the time you're hearing it, it's Saturday. You've seen it all over Twitter, but Cory, we got a boom. Ronnie Hickman, Wayne, New Jersey, DePaul Catholic High School, 6'1", 200-pound safety/athlete, only 16 years old. We don't know where we're going to put him. You excited about this guy, Cory?
Yeah, the scouting report on him is that he's an elite athlete, versatile. You could do a lot of different things with him. He's wanted to be a Buckeye for quite a while now. He wasn't really a take. Since last September, actually, is when we got the lead for this guy. And probably guys like Jordan Fuller, nudging him a little bit about the Buckeyes and whatnot, being from similar areas. But, obviously he's wanted to be a Buckeye for a long time. We just didn't quite want to push him yet. And now we're ready to let him pull the trigger. And first day on his official visit, I think it's an official visit. It might be unofficial, but for the weekend of the spring game here, first night he pulled the trigger. It's funny because I was talking to a couple of those friends you were talking about, and interesting thing is one of them was saying, "Hey, look, it sounds like he may commit this weekend," and I was like, "Yeah, that's already a done deal." Basically, he committed to the coaches a little while ago. Now he gets to announce it tonight on Twitter. Mark Givler from not 247, but from Rivals broke the news, so good for him. And it's a good pickup. He's a highly rated 4-star kid, elite athlete. He could play a bunch of different places. I just suspect he'll play safety. Mm-hmm. It could also be linebacker though, because he's already 200 pounds, like you said, at a young age. So
he's only 16.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you'll see him on the defensive end, but he's also good enough to play slot receiver or wide receiver too. It just depends on where they want to put him, obviously. But the good thing is, you always want more and more athletes. That's always a good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Good old Greg Schiano and his ties to New Jersey still coming through. Poor Rutgers is never going to get the home talent.
That's the funny thing. I was talking to, who was I talking to? I think it was Keith, our buddy Keith. If Maryland, no, it was actually a couple other friends. I'm sorry, Keith. So if Maryland and Rutgers could keep their in-state talent, they would literally be perennial powers. They have so much talent coming out of the state.
So Greg Schiano built Rutgers up and took the good stuff with him to Ohio State. That is how imperialization is done, my friends. That is how you do it. So moving on to the quarterback race, this discussion begins and ends with this guy. As I put out before some information, if you don't know who Grant Gunnell is, look him up, YouTube him, see his highlights. This is the guy that we want. This is the guy that I want. 6'6", 212 pounds. He's a 4-star, but he's a 4-star from Texas, number 2 QB in the class, I believe. I think we're splitting hairs to just call him a 4-star here. He's really good. This guy's passing yards, I think 4,900 passing yards last year, 61 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's a video game, folks. That is fantastic. He's a pro-style quarterback, but he's got some wheels, Corey. This guy can run. Do you like him as much as I do?
He's my favorite quarterback for this 2019 class. He's the guy I want, and I think he's the guy that Ohio State would take his commitment right now. He's one of the only quarterbacks that we're recruiting that maybe the only, they would take his commitment today if he decided, yeah, we're gonna call it a class and then we're done with quarterbacks. But big news came out today. He set his official visit for April 28th at Ohio State. And what's big about that is that's the same weekend as the Oklahoma State spring game. For those of you who don't know, for those of you who don't know, Oklahoma State is our main competition for this kid. I know some are saying LSU. I've read where Kierlich doesn't think LSU is nearly as big a threat as people think. But we'll get to that in just a second, why he shouldn't choose LSU no matter what. I think we could objectively say if he went to Oklahoma State, we'd understand it.
Absolutely.
Based on his passing. Yeah, based on his passing ability. I mean, what he can do with the football. But he really loves Ohio State. We blew him away on his unofficial visit. Now he's going to OV in April 28th. I think he wants to get this decision done by the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even believe Herman's not more in this battle for him.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to me. But.
Maybe he's not gimmicky and he doesn't run the QB draw enough. Although this guy, like I said, he's got some wheels. That is huge, Corey. Huge about the date. The date of his visit. He's not going to Oklahoma State spring game. It's closer to him since he's from Texas. Man, this is the guy that I could see really thriving in that offense. Spread him out, air raid. Just let him sling it. 61 passing touchdowns. He could be a video game again. But we have him. You know, this guy, he's deceptively fast, Corey. He reminds me of Terrell Pryor. They're the same height, 6'6". Now, I'm not saying he's got Terrell Pryor's speed. But you know how Terrell Pryor used to look like he was just jogging?
Yeah.
And guys couldn't catch him? This guy kind of has the same thing. You're like, ugh, he's kind of slow white guy trucking up the middle. Oh, no one can catch him. Oh, he's gone. That's kind of how he looks. And yeah, LSU, how can that be a threat? If you are a good quarterback, and you want to become irrelevant and an afterthought in an offense, go to LSU. But if you're a great quarterback, I don't think you have... You want to go play for the school that forgot how to pass, then yeah, go do that.
And yet somehow they come out with the most amazing receivers every year in the draft.
Oh, they have great... and every year, this was the first year that SEC ESPN didn't try to tell me how this was LSU's year. They are the dark horse. This was the first year they gave up on that. But every year it was just like, guys, they're a 9-3 team. Okay, let's just get over it. Ed Orgeron, Gunnell, stay away from Ed Orgeron. I think he knows that. Don't ever go to LSU if you want to really thrive.
But you know what Johnny, what they're selling him on. You could be the guy that turns the tide. You could be the guy that comes here and changes the legacy of LSU quarterbacks.
The way you're going to run the ball 45 times a game because it's like he's not going to go play for Saban either because you're not going to get to shine. This huge. That is absolutely huge to get this guy away from Oklahoma State on their spring game. Yeah, LSU maybe gets to tell this guy, hey, you can be the guy earlier because Ohio State has a huge stable of talent. But anything can happen, as we'll get into a little bit later with our insider information. That's right, guys. Well, it does have something to do with the quarterback battle, but I won't spoil it yet.
One more thing I want to say about Gunnell and LSU. He does not, as of right now, April 13th, Friday the 13th, April 13th, 2018, when we're recording this, he does not have any planned return visits to LSU before his commitment date. So,
what's his date at? What's his date at, Corey?
It's sometime in the summer. I mean, it's not going to. He doesn't have an official date yet, but he says he wants to do it by summer. So it's going to be a couple months, I would say, that he's going to, maybe by August at the latest. He might even commit to Ohio State at Friday Night Lights if all goes well with the visits and he just decides to pull the trigger.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, I do agree that he's the only guy in the class they will stop the show for, or should stop the show for, and say, hey, we won't even go after these other guys just to show you we're committed to you. The next best guy in the class I like for us is Mr. Howell. But he's already committed to Florida State. You said, though, that you would think that sometimes 17-year-old kids don't exactly tell the truth, and maybe maybe you would possibly decommit. You think this guy would? There's not a huge gap between him and Gunnell. I think there is a gap, but after these two, then the gap, starts really building. You think this still a possibility that we could steal this guy if we had to?
Anything can happen in recruiting. I know he's committed to Florida State. I'm sure in his mind he is done with the recruiting process. But you watch Florida State go 5-7 to 6-6, 7-5, whatever, and all of a sudden you see Ohio State in the playoff, and a guy like Dwayne Haskins or Joe Burrow or Tate Martell. One of them is throwing for almost 3,000 yards and 35 touchdowns, and or if it's Haskins the starter, probably 3,500 yards. And then you start seeing quarterbacks from Ohio State get ballyhooed, and they get praised by the scouts and praised by just NFL programs that look at college drafts and whatnot, and possibly even a one and done for the next quarterback at Ohio State. We have enough talent to pull it off, and enough coaching to pull it off. You start seeing that, and you start seeing Florida State. You continue to see Florida State struggle under a new coach, and you don't know where it's going. Yes, some kids are, oh no, I'm loyal to a fault, but a lot of them we know, like, I'm jumping ship, forget this crap. Ohio State just won the title, or they went to the playoff, or whatever, won the Big Ten. I think, are you guys still interested?
Right. So we could say, if we don't get Gunnell, root for, or if it looks like he's going elsewhere, root for Florida State to tank. I think what Cory's best saying is, or to summarize, the uncertainty that is this Florida State nation right now it leaves uncertainty whether this is a hard commit or not. If they come out and tank, you keep in mind these guys don't have to commit. The National Signing Day is past at the end of the season, so guys can jump ship, just like the good old folks down in Rocky Top know all too well. If your program goes to crap, the kids will bail.
Hey, they're an elite program according to them. They were going to get Bill Belichick and John Gruden as their head coach and assistant head coach.
The jokes. I made fun of them a lot, and they actually got a decent, name, with accolade. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but they were still a joke during that charade. And maybe they owe Greg Schiano money. I don't know. So after that. I know maybe the next best guy you were talking about that they might look at is Mertz, but it's just not. It's not looking good for us. This is a Wisconsin guy through and through. Watch him throw, watch him float, watch him touch passes. He's a Wisconsin guy. I don't see him pulling away from them. Do you, Cory?
No, but this is a kid who is, to me looks like a 2,300 yard, 60% completion, 19 touchdowns, 7 interception type kid for Wisconsin. And look, Wisconsin is in good hands with Paul Chryst. They're not going to have a bad year, or such a year that makes you think, oh man, that program's in trouble. I mean, if they lose 2 games, I'll be kind of surprised, especially with the Big Ten West just being a joke right now. And I mean, yeah, everybody said, oh, Scott Frost is Nebraska. Okay, let's give him a couple years first before he's challenging Paul Chryst,
Right, so. Yeah. System turnaround. They are just absolutely horribly coached, or they were, and that's going to take some time to turn around. We chewed them up so bad the last few years because of how badly they were coached. That's my estimation, because
they made JT Barrett look better than Joe Montana.
They made him look so good. People talk about this Penn State game. They don't remember how poorly they played us. Nebraska played us, and how great JT looked in bad weather. It was remarkable. I had Kentuckians in my house cheering for Ohio State football that night. JT looked so good. That is a fact. That is a fact. Wow. My nephew Jackson, who was a Kentucky fan, who now roots for Ohio State because of this podcast. So hello, Jackson, if you're out there. But yeah, so Nebraska's going to have some turnaround. So look for Mertz to stick with them. he's a good man. He's a big guy, 6'4", 205, good athlete, but he's not polarizing like Howell and Gunnell, but he'll fit well.
Just ripping the kids before they even commit anywhere.
Yeah. He's not the that good in my mind, but he's going to be a really good Wisconsin quarterback one day. And
he's perfect for Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not even mad that he's not coming here. Who's our next guy then?
Let's go with Max Dugan.
Max Dugan. Okay.
Yeah, 6'2", 190, dual threat 4.7 kid. I'll tell you, I don't think he runs a 4.7. I think he runs closer to a 4.5 because you watch him in highlights, he's blowing by people unless his competition's just not that good, which I have no idea. It is Iowa where he comes from, so who knows how good the high school competition is there. But it looks like he's going to TCU right now, but I know Ohio State really likes him. And I know when Meyer sees him run, he starts salivating, but...
yeah, he looks like a good player. He's a little slight, but... do you think Nebraska has a chance with him at all? Because I saw they were interested in him, and Scott Frost out there.
I'd say they still have a chance, but right now he's really trending towards TCU. And we said this in kind of our practice run for our latest podcast, and I'm going to say it again. If you want to leave Iowa, which clearly he does because he's not even considering Iowa or Iowa State, why would you go to Nebraska? That doesn't make any sense. It's corn for corn. Go to Texas and TCU,
right?
And be the starter at what is a legitimately very good program. Nebraska can get back to that, but they're not going to be that probably in the next couple of years. Go to TCU, light it up. They have an offense that fits them. I could see why he'd go to TCU, and I could see why Ohio State likes him. I don't think they like him enough to prioritize him over a Gunnell or a Howell, but I could see why they took an interest.
Yeah, he's a good player. I do see an article saying that there is some hope for Nebraska, but it's all about coaching. Scott Frost, I wouldn't put it past him to get this kid, but if you're right, location for location, TCU has an advantage. Maybe he doesn't mind. I'm sure going to Lincoln can't be any worse than Council Bluff, Iowa. Two interesting facts. I've heard there are more hogs than humans in Iowa. Not sure about that. Hope that's true for the sake of this podcast. And I've heard that Nebraska smells like cows and regret. It's a very distinct...
lot of regret.
Yeah, cows and regret. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So you could see him doing well at TCU. Smaller guy, can throw, but he can really run. So who would be our next guy that you think we might look at as QB2?
Well, let's go with one more guy. There's several other names that are going to come up, but these are pretty much, in my opinion, the main four. Michael Johnson Jr. out of Oregon. Interesting to note, his father is the wide receiver coach at the University of Oregon right now. And I didn't know if he was still there or not because he was hired by Willie Taggart and going back to FSU and Sam Howell. Like I said 4, I mean 5, sorry. I can't count, apparently. But, the thing about FSU, though, is Willie Taggart, and this is funny, Willie Taggart actually had 3 head coaching jobs in a calendar year.
Mr. Reliable.
Yeah, and he hired Michael Johnson Sr. at Oregon, and he was kept by Mario Cristobal, the new coach of Oregon. And Johnson Jr., 73% of the Cristobal's are to Oregon. I definitely see him going to Oregon. I don't see any movement towards Ohio State on this one at all. I know Ohio State likes him. I know Meyer must love him because he's an excellent runner. I got to be honest with you, if I was evaluating him, and I am in no way, shape, or form anywhere near the level of evaluator that Urban Meyer is, but I would put him at H-back. I wouldn't even have him as a quarterback. So
yeah, this guy's running a 4.57 already.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his throwing ability. I mean, it's okay for the high school level, but I look at it's kind of like Torrance Gibson. When I first saw Torrance Gibson throw the ball in high school, I said he's just tossing it and getting lucky. Yeah. There's nothing really precision there, and I don't see him as a quarterback. I think he could be a Randy Moss receiver if he wanted to be. But Johnson Jr. 6'4", 190. If you're not H-back, put him on the outside of the X. You know?
Well, the guy played basketball as well. You look at his passing stats, Cory. 1,218 yards, 21 touchdowns. The touchdown number is nice. 1,200 yards, And then yesterday I talked about, looking and breaking his games down. He had some 120-yard games, passing some 98-yard games. You and I have seen that at Ohio State. We are done with that. If it ever happens again, I will have a conniption. I don't want that.
It's your favorite old man word, conniption.
Yeah, get off my lawn with your 3-yard outs and your 83 yards passing and your 77 yards running. I don't want to see it. One or the other. So if you're passing and running are identical, you need to be a Braxton Miller and give me 150 each.
Yeah, that's fine. But Michael Johnson Jr. He's a dual threat quarterback. Go to Oregon. Your dad's the wide receiver coach. Just saying.
It'd be cool when the wide receiver coach doesn't get mad at you for not throwing to his wide receivers because you took off running. He doesn't look like a pass first guy too on the film. I'll just say that.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. He's a big quarterback draw kind of guy.
Yeah. 83 out of 133 last year. If you have a laser rocket arm, I don't care how good your legs are, you're going to be asked to throw the ball more than 133 times, unless he's just playing in the rain a lot.
That's Oregon. So
yeah,
maybe.
Maybe that's part of the reason, but who knows? So, any other? Is that it for the recruiting battle, or would we?
Well, I'll just finish with this on the court. I'm not making predictions right now. Grant Gunnell is clearly our favorite for right now. Yeah, who we want. But listen. If Grant Gunnell doesn't happen, there will be new names that come up,
right?
And names that it'll say, "Oh, we've been recruiting them for a year." No, you really haven't. But like they didn't recruit Matt Baldwin for an entire year. So
yeah, I'd take another Baldwin in December though.
If we can't get Gunnell, yes, I'd take Gunnell above everybody, of course. But if you can't get him, then yeah, if you could find a diamond in the rough, which we think Matt Baldwin can be, we'll see what happens. But if you get Gunnell and then Jack Miller in 2020, I think Baldwin's going to end up transferring because that's just a ton of quarterback talent you're sandwiched in between. So, but again, if you want a name to root for, Buckeye Nation, Grant Gunnell, go for that guy. Especially if you're sick of quarterback draws,
yeah,
and you want to see guys who can throw the ball and launch it downfield. That's Grant Gunnell. He's the funny part is his size reminds you of Brock Osweiler, just not his play. His play doesn't remind you. Of
maybe go Ryan Mallett.
Fine. Well, Ryan Mallett at the college level.
Yeah,
yes.
Ryan Mallett, who I kind of think Haskins could play like. Again, look him up, guys. 6'6", 212. Great quarterback. 4 million passing yards last year. 43 million touchdowns.
It was a down year for him.
Yeah, he was down. Yeah, 4,900. That's back-to-back 4,900 yard years I'm seeing at the high school level. 61 touchdowns and 65 touchdowns last 2 years.
Against Texas competition.
Against Texas competition. So yeah, YouTube him, slide into his DMs, tell him to come to Ohio State. Just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that. But we do.
It's reserved for me. I'm a 34-year-old man that likes to DM high school kids and tell them where to go.
And in no way is that depressing.
Or sad.
All right, Corey. I think that wraps up our recruit cast on the quarterback position. So we have some Corey has some juicy information, guys, about, via some relationships he has built inside the Ohio State University football program. Corey, lay one of them on us.
Yeah, I'm not going to say names. I'm trying to protect identities here.
Names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Exactly, and they're in witness protection right now, and so I'm not actually even sure how they're still getting information. They might be lying to me, but that being said, I've heard this was also in Bucknuts to the boarding house at one point. It was briefly mentioned, but I got it confirmed by a couple people that said that Antonio Williams, the running back, if you don't know, first of all, he's dropped like 15, 20 pounds, and he's actually challenging Weber for the backup spot. That's a legitimate idea. Wow. That Williams, because everybody assumed he was going to transfer with Teague and Snead coming in with both great talents, and I got to credit Williams on that. He has this no give up attitude. It just, I'm going to get better. That's all there is to it.
And this is Mike Weber's not hurt like he was. He's just flat. I thought it was a battle between Weber, maybe outworking Dobbins because he's older and we've seen what he's capable of. You're telling me he's getting. I mean, Williams looked nice, but he did not look on Weber's level. That is, to me, is truly amazing. It's hard for me to believe. I'm gonna be honest.
You know what? I'm not even going to go ahead and say that's 100% fact, but it's just what I'm hearing.
Right.
And he's going to at least eat into his snaps a little bit. That's good for Williams, like I said, if that's true. I mean, I don't know, but again, these are just things I'm hearing. I'm just passing it along because it's interesting information. And just like the boarding house at Bucknuts, if you read that, it's all gossip. You just don't know if it's true or not. This is kind of what I'm kind of putting a disclaimer on this. I'm not pretending that I'm inside the WAC watching the practices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it is something to say that it was on there and confirmed by other sources that you've built, through relationships over the years. That makes me think there's some validity to it. And think about how good Mike Weber is, guys, when he's healthy. He averaged 6 yards a carry his freshman year, splitting snaps with Curtis Samuel. Okay. Last year he was
he was splitting snaps with JT.
Yeah. Okay. Don't start. Don't start. And last year we was hobbled most of the year. When he got healthy, there was a 3-game stretch. I think he averaged 13.5 yards a carry. And when you looked at his upside, he could truck people better than JK, and he was actually faster with breakaway speed than JK. The only thing JK had on him was agility and that beautiful jump cut. And you're telling me this guy is getting nicked from the guy behind him? What a job. What a dog eat dog world of fantastic athletes we have at the Ohio State University.
I love what Coach Alford said, the running back coach, for those of you who don't know. And if you don't know, are you really a Buckeye fan at this point? But, Coach Alford says, I'm not here to keep people happy. I'm here to put the best player on the field. And I was like, I love that attitude because you have to let these players feel like they have a chance to play if they outwork somebody.
You shouldn't.
That's extremely important.
Corey, JT was the starter. Quit throwing shade. Okay.
That actually wasn't a JT dig. I actually have no doubt about JT's work ethic. I'm sure he worked extremely hard. It just didn't always show up in the games.
Right. Wow. So that's amazing to me. I'm interested in looking at the spring game tomorrow to see if this pans out. What else you got?
How everybody kind of just assumes that Nick Bosa and Chase Young are going to dominate the starter snaps.
Yeah, and maybe like Cooper will eat in a little bit for a change of pace for when they get fatigued.
Yeah, Cooper's actually starting to take snaps away from Chase a little bit because, and I don't think that's really a detriment to how Chase is playing. I do think he probably still has a problem with over pursuing at times. He's young, he's raw, but they also know what a physical monster he is. He's got to play. But Cooper is coming along and having his best spring as a Buckeye, and he's gonna eat into those snaps and actually form a legitimate rotation rather than just a guy who spells Young every now and again.
Wow, already, we're in the spring. You're telling me he's already eating into Young snaps. Young was like. They were putting the prodigy crown on his helmet already, You know
what? As good as Young is, and don't get me wrong, I think he'll be the number 1 draft pick in the 2020 draft. I really do. But Nick Bosa is still the best D-lineman we have.
I think we grade people on a curve when their last name isn't Bosa. You know what I mean? Like Nick Bosa is just unreal, and it. That was a great thing about having a Joey Bosa jersey. It's now a Nick Bosa jersey. It's good for 6 years. But
too bad it wasn't good for 8 years.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Well, no, it's not going to happen.
But he's already admitted he's leaving.
Yeah. This is significant, guys. That Chase Young, the underground king that's not been crowned, is already the predator. He's huge. He's a great bull rusher around the edge. This guy is already getting snaps eaten into. Keep in mind, how many stars was Cooper as a recruit?
Oh, he was a 5-star guy, speed rusher.
Right.
He did, but they knew he had to bulk up. They knew he had to work against the run a little bit. But they knew that he had great technique as a speed rusher.
So that's amazing. So all of a sudden, this defensive end problem doesn't look like a problem anymore. When you
by the way, Johnny, Nick Bosa, 5-star. Trace Young, 5-star. John Cooper, 5-star.
Yeah, it was last year we settled, quote unquote, settled for a couple 4s, but I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
Tyreek Smith's going to be pretty good.
That's amazing, guys. That's bigger news than you think. That Cooper is eating, not going to spell Young. He's eating into his snaps already. That's fantastic.
But I do want to make the point one more time, Johnny, that it's not because Young's playing bad.
No, it's just because a guy
Cooper's
is that
playing
good.
level.
Yes.
He's elevated his level of play.
Yeah, and I think that's actually bigger news than a guy playing bad, is that another guy's playing really, really good. Just like the what we were talking about, just like the Weber situation. It's not because Weber's bad. It's because Williams doing really, really good. And lay it on us, Cory. What's the big move?
Well, let's go to the quarterback battle. I had heard several times that, and I actually had come to the conclusion myself, to be honest with you, based on everything that looked like it was happening, that Haskins was the guy. That was it. They're going into this. They're letting Burrow compete for it, but Haskins has the inside track. He's pretty much the guy.
Right.
This is hard to say because I really don't want to upset people, but it's starting to sound like Burrow has been outperforming Haskins.
Not challenging, outperforming.
Yeah, not just closing the gap, but actually playing better.
Wow. I mean,
imagine the dilemma on the coach's faces right now. They're thinking, "Oh, now what do we do?"
Yeah, because like we said it was a battle, but we expected the guy that got a leg up because of the injury to keep the job, because Haskins looked fine. I mean, he's got a loaded core, and he's got a bigger arm. Here's the thing, Cory. In our group that we talk about, or that we discuss Buckeye football with, I remember saying at the end of last season, guys, let's not take Burrow for granted. He did set the world on fire in high school. He's looked great every time he's gotten to play in limited action. Can we just write him off? And you guys told me, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Burrow's done. He's finished. He's transferring.
was it really that angry? Was the tone really that angry?
You were there. You were one of them. Have you ever seen a football game before, idiot?
Yeah, but I say that to you anyway.
Yeah, but anyways, I'm just saying. Look at him now. That's amazing to me. And that you wonder. We know Burrow's the better runner. And are they throwing tit for tat and then Burrow's just running better, or are we thinking he's doing both better?
From what I understand, it's a difference of Burrow makes all the right plays, Haskins makes the unbelievable plays,
Yep.
but he doesn't always just take the right play, unfortunately, at times.
And I knew that would get him into trouble. I remember me and you both said he'll have more interceptions than JT, but also throw for a lot more yards. When I watched him, he thinks he can make every throw. Linebackers underneath, corners over top. I can get it in there. I have a laser rocket arm.
He has a bit of Brett Favre on him.
Yeah,
when you look at him roll the ball.
I can get it there. I can beat the coverage. And it does seem that Burrow is a little more of a thinker. He's boom, boom, boom. There's the read.
Oh, that's a racist comment.
No. He on Twitter, he's talking about athletes and don't, just stick to sports. You all were, whatever. You know what? I look at him, he looks like a guy going through the progressions.
Are you saying Dwayne can't think because he's black? Is that what you're saying?
Goodness.
But for folks, that's a joke. He's not really saying
I'm not
that.
saying that. Yeah, now the NAACP's hitting me with a lawsuit. Anyways, no, I'm not saying. Look, Dwayne Haskins. If Dwayne Haskins is our quarterback, I'm fine. He's great. He's got a great arm. But I can see this coming to fruition. Like you said, Ryan Mallett. They used to say Ryan Mallett makes 3 throws every game that only Ryan Mallett can make. And then he makes 3 throws every game that make you say, what in the world are you thinking? And I can see a little bit of that possibly in Dwayne Haskins. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Tomorrow is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because as we're recording this Friday night, the spring game, obviously tomorrow at 11:45 a.m. By the time this comes out, you may have already seen it, but I'm going to try to get this out as soon as possible. And the interesting thing about last spring game, I was more excited to see Dwayne Haskins than anybody because I had never seen him on a college level before.
Right.
And Dwayne, for his money, played excellent.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was that nobody expected. Joe Burrow also played excellent, and his team actually won. But to be fair about that, Dwayne Haskins started out on Joe Burrow's team,
right,
and then switched.
Yeah, and the defenders are pulling up, and a lot of different factors there.
Yeah, I'm not sitting there saying that Joe Burrow's better because of it. And the advice I'd give fans is don't overreact to whatever the spring game. I can guarantee you, Urban does not care. It's just for the fans at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like he's seen weeks and weeks of practice. One little spring game that limits players and what you can do and who's getting tackled, who's not getting tackled.
Right.
That it's not going to matter. In fact, I think Tate Martell's going to outperform everybody because of his running ability. That's what I would in the spring game.
Yeah, well, and especially if they're not ordered not to hit him. I think Nick Bosa is going to outperform everybody because there's nobody in the team that could possibly block him, but he's not going to get to crush anybody. So
I bet he doesn't even play, but maybe a series.
you know there's nobody in the team that can block that guy.
There's nobody in the Big Ten that can block that
There's
guy.
nobody in the country that can block. You want to keep doing this all day?
Yeah. Nobody in the NFL that can block that guy.
Okay. That's huge, guys. Burrow beating out Haskins. That is, I mean, it's not set in stone.
Wait now. I didn't say beating out.
No,
I said outperforming.
but right now, if you had to encapsulate it, he's outperforming. Beating out. Has not beaten out. Beating out. He has not beaten him out. But just this guy outperforming a guy that we all assumed, I assumed. Yeah, and you made the point to someone who said Burrow was number 2 and Haskins was number 3, and you said people lose jobs to injury all the time. Burrow is saying, well, you know what? I want to get my job back. So good on him. Good on him. I hope the best man wins. I hope we get to see a show put on tomorrow. The most interesting thing will be who gets the best receivers, or do they split them up evenly?
I do have one more a recruiting tidbit to finish the show, if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we gave you some insider stuff to the best of our ability. We're not insiders. We just have some friends.
It's a guarantee.
Johnny, you're fired. Anyway, wide receiver Garrett Wilson out of Texas, high 4-star ranking. Probably, in my opinion, my number 1 receiver I want Ohio State to get. Teammate at Lake Travis with Matt Baldwin. He has Columbus ties. He's fighting between Ohio State and Texas right now. He's on his official visit to Ohio State at the moment. And according to Steve Wilfong from 247 Sports, he's actually recruiting for Ohio State right now. Huh. If that tells you anything. I mean, he's supposedly going down between us and Texas for his commitment. He visits Texas next week, so I don't want to make any guarantees, but let's just say right now I'm 75-25 Buckeye on Garrett Wilson after the news that he's actually recruiting for Ohio State.
That's fantastic. Also, a little tidbit of recruiting information against that team up north. Spring game is canceled, so that's one more little edge that maybe we can have. And, maybe it's nature's way of weeding out the weak that team up north has gone ahead and canceling their game for a little bit of rain or maybe just to not show the world. Didn't they have a horrific spring game last year? Wasn't the score like 2-3? Or what?
It was bad. Yeah, the offense looked bad.
I wonder if they're like, well, we're just who was it? John O'Corn throwing intercept against whoever you can imagine. It had to be pretty terrible.
They probably going through spring practice, we could play in the rain, but none of our quarterbacks have looked any good. Yeah. I don't want to give our fans a reason not to hope.
I bet that defense mauled that offense. That would be terrible to watch. But anyways, Cory, it's been a great show. We need to wrap this up. It's been great talking to you. We are hoping to get more content out to you guys in the future at a quicker pace. We appreciate you bearing with us. I've had a lot of fun doing this. We hope to see you guys again. Check us out on BuckeyesNews.net. Good night. God bless. And go Bucks.